Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket queens. I'm in the cutoff, open raise. I think this is pretty standard. Open raising range and villain 4 calls. Both blinds call when we see the flop. What's relevant is villain 4. Villain 4 is playing pretty loose. He's also playing somewhat aggressive. In terms of 3-bets, 6 out of 17. Maybe he's getting lucky, maybe he's not. When we look at his pre-flop calls, he's called 100% from the button. A 2-bet 100% from the button, 1 out of 1. On the button, he's played 2 out of 5. He's limped once. He didn't raise, so maybe he calls a little bit more. But if there is a raiser, he could 3-bet. Definitely, you could see 3-bet mid position, 2 out of 4, 2 out of 5 from the small blind, 2 out of 6 from the big blind. When we look at his 3-bet range, it's queens and queens jacks. That's what we have. So when working up his range, I kind of put him in at about 21%, I think, as it turned out. So I assume that if he 3-bet with queens, he's going to, I'm sure, raise with kings plus. With queen jack off, if he's going to do that with queen jack off, he's probably also going to do it with king queen off, ace queen off, and probably ace jack off. I don't think he does it with king jack, because king jack, I think, is weaker than queen jack in terms of that offsuit. Yeah, you've got straight potential, but I just think the connectedness makes the hand a little bit better. If he's doing it with offsuit, definitely he's doing it with suited. But this time, I'm going to give him all the suited broadways minus the 10s. Like king 10, queen 10, jack 10, along with ace 10. In terms of pocket pairs, if he's doing it with like queen jacks, I have to assume he's also doing it with like jacks and 10s as well. Maybe even lower pocket pairs, but maybe even lower pocket pairs. And maybe, that queen jack was more of a blind, versus a steal. But I had to go somewhere, so I gave him this range. Flop comes out 5-5-4 with 2 diamonds. Blinds check to me. I go ahead and bet half pot. I think this is probably correct, especially in a multi-way pot. I think diamonds are gonna call. I think there's a chance that we can get called by overcards. Note that this player fold to c-bet is in the 50s. 58% when he's out of position. There is a possibility that he might just call just to see what goes on. And also the fact that they called, it's a possibility that we could have like an overpair here, like, 7s, 8s, 9s, that would be willing to pay off. Might not bet, because they're out of position, but I think this is a spot where we should be betting. So I bet, and then villain just does a min raise here. I don't think that's overly strong. I guess he could have raised more, but this could be like hey, I'm going to raise a little bit, get a little bit more money in the pot, and as long as the turn card isn't too scary, I'm going to, get even more in there. So both players folds back to me, and I'm going to say out of the 43 hands, he hasn't raised on a post flop like that. So he's bet. He's donked, but he hasn't raised the c-bets. Hasn't raised the c-bet. Hasn't raised, check raise, or anything. So get that going. All right, so I call. Jack comes out. Now I'm curious if I should bet. I don't feel like it. I think that's kind of a scary card to him, especially if he has like 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. So I check, and he bets half pot. And at this point, I'm kind of thinking, well, if he has a pocket pair, he might call. If he has diamonds, he might call if I raise. Whereas if I just call and we miss the diamonds, I think there's a possibility that he just folds to any bet, or if I check, he'll just check behind because he missed his draw. So I feel like this is the time to go ahead and make a play. So I raise 3 times his bet, which is about 60%. He folds. So I'm going to assume once he folded, he's got pocket pair below the jacks. He's giving me credit for the jack itself. Maybe a 4, maybe like ace 4. Definitely not 5s. And I think with the 5, I don't know if he's going to raise it. I would suspect if he had trip 5s, he's waiting until the turn to raise, or maybe even the river. So let's check out what GTO says. So GTO starts out of position. I bet 74% of the time. I definitely had the stronger range. So it has me betting, mixed strategy. Queen could have been checked, but multi-way pot, I think this is probably just go ahead and bet, most of these hands. Ace 10, ace 9, ace 8, probably the, most of the checks here. I mean, really hard to play with them, because you do expect to get called by overcard, so you're going to have at least 2 barrels, and especially in a 3-way pot, I think you're going to be a little bit more careful. It might just be, look, the flop was bad, let's just check and hope we get to see a turn and maybe connect on the turn. So we connected. Villain's going to be calling. He's calling with some of his mid cards. There is raise here, 22%. His raises come with like the 5s, maybe the diamond, some of the diamond draws, ace 2, 4s, 5 4, 6 5, 5 6. So we'll go with GTO and say he raises here, which I think 15.6 pretty close to his bet. It was actually 12, so maybe a little bit lower. And now it's on me. Do I call? Do I raise? It does have me raising with a lot of the queens. If I had the queen of diamonds, I did have the queen of diamonds. I kind of noticed the queen of diamonds, or paid attention to it, and my thought was, with queen of diamonds, I blocked some of the diamond draws, so I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing. So GTO says I should raise 100% when I have this queen of diamond, call when I don't. So I didn't. I called here, and then jack of spades hit. I was concerned if I raised here that I'm not going to get any more money. I just feel like if I raised these hands, like 7 8s 9s, could find a fold. I feel like they could find a fold. But I guess we have to be aggressive, because we're also raising hands like a6. We're raising some of these ace queen hands with diamonds. We're raising some ace 4, ace 3 hands. So I call, and then we're checking most of the time. No big surprise. Kind of hard for us to bet here and balance. We could be betting some like queen jack of diamonds, some of the jack 10 of diamonds, so top pair that we've connected, and balance that with like ace 2, the ace 3 hands. But we check. Villain bets. He bets 60% of the time, and then it's on us. And now it looks like we are raising, small percentage, and queens looks like a raise. Kings sometimes looks like a raise. Ace sometimes looks like a raise. I think with queens, we're betting to try to get a little bit more value and for protection, because we don't really want to see a king or an ace fall on this river. I think diamond draws are calling. I think maybe some of these jacks are calling as well. So we raised and he folded. So I think our raise is appropriate here. I think our call was not. So what if this jack was a little bit different? What if we did raise? Let's say we raised here and villain calls. How do we respond? What do we do from here? So if we had raised, GTO says that we are leading out 42.6% of the time. I think that's correct. I'm going to go back to here. Some of the raises included this 9s here. Oops, hold on. If we raise here, yeah, 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens, overpair. Looks like we're calling with just ace and king. So I'm sure this is kind of where I kind of went off a little bit, is that I didn't think I was too worried about that turn or river card. I mean, I have 6, basically dodging 8 outs total. If we account, if villain has one or both of those cards, has an ace or maybe an ace and a king. We're down to 6 outs, but at the same time, given that villain has 3-bet so frequently, I kind of discounted the fact that he might have ace king, so I was less concerned about being drawn out on. But this is something that I think GTO kind of acknowledges, as saying, hey, for bad cards are like aces and kings, so we can afford to check an ace, we can afford to check king, but we should probably bet for some value, for some protection with queens and jacks. So we do have these under pairs. We're going to raise those. If villain calls, then we're going to be betting the 9s, 10s, queens, and kings, but we're going to be checking queen jacks. So with jacks, we hit the full house, and now I think we're just hoping villain bets here, so that we can check raise and get it in. We're just hoping villain bets so that we can get it in. Ace 5, we're going to be sometimes betting, sometimes checking. Ace 4, we're playing aggressive. We're playing aggressive with queens. We're playing aggressive with kings. We're playing aggressive at 9s and 10s, which seems strange, because if we bet and villain raises, we're going to be calling with that. So what hands is he raising with? Well, he's raising with pairs, pocket pairs less than the top card, 7, 8s, 9s. He's not really raising with flush draws. He shouldn't really have many flush draws, because I think when he raises here and I 3-bet, he should just be shoving with his flush draws, and since he didn't, he probably doesn't have them, so he's got these weaker pairs. So when he raises, we're calling with like 10s and 9s. I mean, we're calling with those diamonds with 9s and 10s, because villain could have like 8s, 7s, and 6s. I'm sure now, exploitatively, I don't think he's going to be doing that. I don't think he's going to be raising with those hands. So we could probably, fold if we bet lead out here and he comes over the top here. I think at this point, I mean, even our overpaired queens and kings are probably a little worrisome if he's playing GTO. If he's not, so if he calls with all of his diamonds, then yeah, I think we do call, because he could very easily be on a diamond draw. So what if it's different? Well, because it's kind of hard to predict what would happen with that jack, but definitely I think GTO is saying we should have been raising on that flop. We bet. Here. We bet he raises us. We should be raising it, and the raise that we should be making is 37.2, so about 50% of pot on that. And if he comes over the top, then we're basically going to be calling with those. Sometimes calling, sometimes folding. Our ace highs are going to be like your diamonds. Ace queen, ace jack, ace 3. I think that's speculative. We're calling kind of as bluff catching at that point. Definitely if we had the queen of diamonds, jack of diamonds, we block diamond draws. But I think if we bet he raises, we re-raise, and he just shoves, or pretty close to shove, I think even ace 4 is probably beat. But GTO says we should call, because villain should be doing that with flush draws, open-enders, straight draws, and should have a lot of draws in his range, and not necessarily big strong hands. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, look tomorrow for another hand.